The Assyrian Empire was once one of the greatest powers the ancient world had ever seen. It stretched across Mesopotamia, subjugated parts of Anatolia, the Levant, and even reached Egypt, a mighty civilization defined by advanced military tactics, monumental building projects, and an iron grip on the regions it ruled. But by 612 BCE, this towering empire had collapsed, and the political landscape of the Near East would never be the same. In today's video, we'll explore the dramatic fall of the Assyrian Empire. What caused such a powerful state to crumble? What role did enemies, rebellions, and internal strife play? And how did this monumental collapse shape history? To understand the fall of Assyria, we first need to recognize the height of its power. For centuries, the Assyrians dominated the political and military scenes in the ancient world. Their kings, like Ashurbanipal and Tiglath-Pileser III, were masterminds of conquest, overseeing the expansion of Assyria's borders and implementing advanced administrative systems to maintain control. They used brutal force to suppress rebellions and instill fear among their subjects. Cities such as Nineveh, Ashur, and Kalhu became symbols of their immense wealth and power, adorned with breathtaking palaces and intricate reliefs depicting Assyrian triumphs. But even as the empire basked in glory, seeds of its downfall were already being sown. Assyria's rule was based on fear, heavy taxation, and forced labor, policies that left its provinces simmering with resentment. The vastness of their territory also proved difficult to maintain, demanding constant campaigns to suppress uprisings. Rival kingdoms studied the Assyrians' military tactics, preparing to match their ferocity. And as the empire entered the 7th century BCE, it began to face challenges it could no longer overcome. One of the key figures in the lead-up to Assyria's demise was King Ashurbanipal, who ruled in the early 7th century BCE. Known for his ruthless efficiency and cultural patronage, he famously assembled the Library of Nineveh. Ashurbanipal presided over an era of both grandeur and instability. Under his reign, Assyria stretched to its furthest extent. But after his death around 627 BCE, cracks began to appear. The succession crisis following Ashurbanipal's death weakened the empire. Power struggles within the Assyrian elites destabilized governance, and the provinces began to rebel. At the same time, external enemies saw an opportunity. The Babylonians, led by the Chaldean prince Nabopolassar, initiated one of the most significant revolts against Assyria. Nabopolassar declared himself king of Babylon in 626 BCE and began chipping away at Assyrian control in the south. This rebellion marked the beginning of a chain of events that would culminate in the empire's collapse. Nabopolassar was not alone. Slowly but surely, he formed alliances with other powers who had suffered under Assyrian rule. This coalition included the Medes, led by Cyaxares, and remnants of smaller groups like the Scythians. Together, these forces prepared to launch a coordinated assault against Assyria's heartland. Bound by their shared grievances, these diverse forces stood united in their resolve to challenge the might of Assyria. The decisive moments came between 614 and 609 BCE, when the coalition systematically dismantled Assyria's defensive strongholds. The first major blow was dealt in 614 BCE when Cyaxares and his Median forces captured the city of Ashur, the spiritual and ceremonial heart of the empire. The fall of Ashur shocked the Assyrians, who now realized that their enemies were not merely rebelling against provincial rule. They were taking the fight to the empire's very foundations. 2 years later, in 612 BCE, the coalition launched the most critical attack, the Siege of Nineveh. Nineveh was the Assyrian capital, perhaps the most powerful and fortified city in the ancient world. According to historical accounts, some of which border on legend, it was the flooding of the Tigris River that contributed to the fall of the city. By August 612 BCE, the city was breached. What followed was brutal. Nineveh was sacked, its inhabitants slaughtered, and its palaces burned to the ground. The sack of Nineveh proved to be a turning point, not just militarily but psychologically. The once feared empire was now seen as vulnerable, and Assyria's enemies pressed their advantage. Over the next few years, other Assyrian cities like Haran and Carchemish fell, leaving no place of refuge for the remnants of Assyrian authority. By 609 BCE, the empire had effectively ceased to exist. The fall of Assyria wasn't just the end of a single empire, it marked a shift in the regional balance of power. Babylon emerged as the dominant force in Mesopotamia, initiating what historians call the Neo-Babylonian period. Nebuchadnezzar II, Nabopolassar's successor, would go on to create his own legacy, constructing the Hanging Gardens of Babylon and expanding his empire. Meanwhile, the Medes consolidated power in the Iranian plateau, setting the stage for the rise of the Achaemenid Persian Empire decades later. The vacuum left by Assyria allowed new powers to emerge, reshaping borders, politics, and cultures across the Near East. Although the Assyrian Empire collapsed, its legacy endured. Assyrian culture, innovations, and administrative systems influenced the civilizations that came after. Their military strategies, architectural techniques, and governance methods were studied and adapted by later empires. Even today, the ruins of Assyrian cities remind us of a time when their kings ruled the ancient world with an iron fist. But their story also serves as a cautionary tale. An empire's greatness alone cannot ensure its survival. The Assyrians' reliance on brutality, the overextension of their territories, and their failure to unite their diverse peoples ultimately led to their downfall. In the end, they fell victim to the same forces they had unleashed in their pursuit of domination. The fall of the Assyrian Empire remains one of history's most dramatic collapses, a moment when neighbors and rivals finally rose against a fierce, seemingly invincible power. It shaped the course of the ancient world its ripples felt for centuries. And while the empire may have fallen in 612 BCE, its risen and ruined cities continue to tell the tale of its rise, reign, and eventual fall. Their risen and ruined cities continue to tell the tale of their rise, reign, and eventual fall. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to dive deeper into ancient history and explore more events like this one, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video.
Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.